Hey everybody, so no thank you did his reply video within a live stream to my reply video to his video. So this video will then act as a response to the reply video to my reply video. So essentially, he brings about a lot of good points that I agree with. That there are problems on both sides, that simply by working a job, you're not going to alleviate all of the problems that you had as a need. Instead, a new set of problems arise that need to be tackled. Um, and in both instances, there are ways to mitigate such problems. If you get a job that you don't particularly like, you get a different job that you do like. And then the act of having a job is no longer the problem. Rather, there are sets of problems within that job that are no longer as big as the mere fact that you have a job in the first place. So, like, there's always going to be issues. No matter which set of conditions that you're put in, there's always going to be problems, and you have to realize that. But in the case of getting a job, you get one that you like better, which not everyone can do. And I acknowledge that. So instead, to find enjoyment, you become a need. But the issue with that is always isolation. You become too enveloped into media and so on and so forth. Now, what I had misinterpreted in his video was that he was literally saying that you can just consume media forever and that can be your life. Wrongly, I interpreted the video that way. And I gave some more thought to this because I got a really great comment from Tatsuhiro Sato where he said, you can just talk to friends and have organizational structure that way. You can just go outside and be hyperactive socially and then come home to work on your hobbies and to, um, you know, consume media. You would have a routine in that sense. I think jobs are a good way to have a rigid structure to get you out of the house, to give you a routine, so the downtime ends up being more meaningful. But you can just instill the routine yourself by choosing to go around other people, but you're still unemployed in that instance. And so, in many ways, that's the ideal way to go about this problem because of the way that labor tends to be quite literally useless for most of us doing the jobs where like we literally feel bad doing the work because it doesn't feel like what we're doing is meaningful to anybody. Um, and oftentimes the labor itself is boring. And so for a lot of people, they would just enjoy themselves more not to work at all. And if you can find a way to make that sustainable, then that's good. I don't inherently have a problem with unemployment itself. In fact, I've argued in many videos that being unemployed can be super fulfilling for people. My issue was the way that he was framing the video, the way that he talked about it was like, I understand now, given his response video, that what he meant to say was that if you don't have a job, then there's infinite amounts of things to do. There's always things to do. It's just that how you're able to do them, how you're able to get yourself in that situation where you can do those things, is largely dependent on the other factors surrounding your life. So, for example, you're unemployed, but you still go out and see friends all the time. You're still fairly active. You have a routine in that sense. You can come home for the next 8 or so hours that you wouldn't have had otherwise because you would have been working. And then you can just use all of that time dedicated to a craft or to consuming media, time that you wouldn't have been able to use if you were working. And that's more time than you would use being a NEET who's totally socially isolated because you would spend all your time, feeling bad because media would be the only way that you would view the world through. Instead, there is a balance while also being unemployed. So there's multiple ways to go about this. And when I watched his video, I had interpreted it as being absolute from the language that he was using. It felt like he was talking in absolute terms of like, you know, you can just consume media all the time, and that's hunky dory. That's the way everything is gonna flow, and that everything will be fine through that. And I took issue with that framing of the situation, but what I didn't understand was that um, it was simply a response to the people who say that you don't have things to do. So if you say, well, you don't have things to do while you're unemployed, well, yes, obviously you have things to do. But my argument was that, yes, I will get bored because of the lack of social stimulation that I would have, the lack of routine that I would have, that being a NEET isn't all it's cracked up to be. Um, but if you can be a NEET and still talk to people. That's the thing, is that there's different ways to go about the same lifestyle. It's just that you need to find other ways to do the same thing. It's not all just one way. It's not either total isolation or, you know, total work life where all you do is work. It's not two extremes. There's ways to find a middle ground in both situations, getting a job that you like or getting a routine at home while still being unemployed. So um, I, I basically want to take this video to admit that I did misinterpret a lot of stuff in his video, um, and his response was generally pretty good, despite being kind of hungover and laid back. But yeah, um, I'm glad to see that a lot of you guys went to go subscribe to his channel, because he does some of my favorite work on the internet right now. Like, most of YouTube, I feel like, is a desolate wasteland, as I was talking about in that video, but his videos are some of the few that I actually still enjoy. So if you haven't watched his content, please go do. It's definitely some of the best on the internet right now.